Okay, I don't see another question. Gustavo, are you on? We'll go to our guest. Gustavo?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please. So we have Gustavo Gonzalez, is the Humanitarian Resident Coordinator in the Philippines. So Gustavo, I will turn it over to you to brief us on the situation, and then we'll go to Paulina. Please, Gustavo.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Stefan. We have just finalized a compilation of more than 66 assessments from the field. And one thing is very clear today in the Philippines, that after 1 month since the first landfall of Super Typhoon Rai, we realized that we have badly underestimated the scale of devastation. So we can say today, after 1 month, that the Typhoon Rai was the world's second deadliest disaster of 2021, after, of course, the Haiti earthquake, and the magnitude of its damage is very close to the destruction caused, as you remember, by Typhoon Haiyan in 2013. So since December 21st, when I last briefed you, the numbers of people affected has increased 3 times. We are reaching today the 9 million of people affected by the super typhoon. In terms of the damaged or destroyed houses, the number have increased 7 times, from 200,000 to over 1.5 million, which is almost 1/3 more than at the time of the Typhoon Haiyan. And in terms of casualties, we have almost double the numbers of people being killed as a result of the typhoon, from 177 at the time of the first assessment, and now we confirm 405 people. So governments, teams, the humanitarian community, the whole United Nations country team, we are working at the field level hand in hand, and we are facing numbers of challenges. The first one, as you know, we are talking about a crisis within a crisis. So as you know, the Philippines is confronted today to an exponential increase of the numbers of COVID-19 cases. We are talking about 3.2 million, the total, and presently around 300 cases of COVID-19. The current ratio of COVID-19 test positivity is over 46%, and many humanitarian responders, humanitarian teams, members of my team, myself, we are testing positive, which is restricting staff movement, and of course is affecting our operations at the field level. Number two, the weather conditions and the phenomenon of La Nina. So we have persistent rains. They're affecting the displaced people, but also the movement of our staff, our own deployment in the region. Number three, we are compelled to centralize our operations in Manila. So we are not having, as you remember at the time of Haiyan, we have the major city of Cebu. Now the city of Cebu has been affected by the typhoon. So we centralize everything, logistic, procurement, transportation from Manila, which makes things really, really difficult and of course costly. And finally, as you know, we are operating in a very risky area. The typhoon hits parts of the Mindanao, which is frequently exposed to clashes between the armed force of the Philippines and non-state armed groups. Let me just share with you in terms of the priorities, of course, on top of ensuring people getting access to food, to nutrition, to clean water. My top concerns as a humanitarian coordinator are related to immediate support in terms of shelter, supporting families to repair and rebuild their homes. For many of them, this will start by helping to clear vast amount of debris from the storm. The importance of meeting people's protection needs and address protection risks. As you know, displaced people, women, children who are hit by the crisis are more vulnerable to sexual exploitation, abuse, gender-based violence. In terms of child protection, we know quickest way for recovery for children is to return to schools. Remember that the Philippines was one of within the 5 countries with the longest lockdown and schools closed. Now we are considered as a priority restoration of damaged schools. We are talking about more than 4,000 of schools. And the impact on economy, so we have a last report that was released last week by the UN International Labour Organization that mentioned these 2.2 million of workers affected. So we need to help farming and fishing communities to recover quickly by giving them the tools and equipment they need to get back to work. To finalize, as you know, the humanitarian country team in record time, a few days after the typhoon, we launched the Humanitarian Needs and Priority Plan, a 6-month plan. We are asking for $107 million. We thank the solidarity of the donors community. We have 40% of this total funding, but of course, we need more resources in order to meet everyone's basic need and lay down the foundations for recovery. So the response plan will be in the coming days revised because we, as I shared with you, we need to recalibrate the way that we complement government's efforts. And I have a final message to share with you, which is, of course, a call for solidarity with the Philippines. 9 million of people have been seriously affected by the typhoon, 2.5 million of children in need of protection. So additional resources for our humanitarian response are badly needed. So I invite the international community to join our humanitarian response. I would like to stop here if I may, Stefan, and of course I remain ready for any questions and comments.
Thank you very much, Gustavo. A first question to Edie Lederer of the Associated Press.
Thank you very much, Gustavo, on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association. Thank you very much for doing this briefing. There seems to be a lot of competition for donor funding at this moment with a lot of conflicts and crises. If you're only 40% funded for $107 million, it sounds like the appeal will be perhaps even double that with the number of additional people that you say need assistance. How optimistic are you that the Philippines will even get the $107 million, and what will be the impact if it doesn't get the money?
Thank you, Gustavo. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for your questions and thank you even for encouraging words. Definitely, we need to avoid including this crisis in the Philippines as part of the forgotten crisis. What we have to consider is that the typhoon hit in areas that they have been weakened by the COVID-19. So we are referring to regions that they have high levels of poverty. The highest level in terms of stunting and wasting, what is showing the level of malnutrition. And as I mentioned, the impact of the COVID-19. When we look at the economic impact, because sometimes you can provide humanitarian assistance and then rely on the self-sufficiency and resilience of people. Here we are talking about a typhoon that has literally flattened the economy. in terms of just to give you an example, this morning I had a conversation with the Secretary of Agriculture and the impact of the coconut plantation. We are talking about replanting. And replanting is to have an horizon of production just, let's say, in the coming 5 or 6 years. And an area that has been affected also in terms of, the tourism is also hit by the COVID-19. So we have in front of a very, very, very serious case. And we are working hand in hand with the government. The government made some announcement for the recovery phase. I don't think that we are going to double this appeal, but certainly we need to recalibrate it. I cannot say that we are encouraged by this 45%. And of course, we need your support. We need your support to avoid that this is part of the forgotten crisis. And if we don't respond to that, of course, we are compromising hard-won development gains. This is a very fragile region. The government made important progress in terms of the vaccination campaign, but everything now is compromised. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Any other questions? Anything in the chat? Okay. Gustavo, I want to thank you very much for sharing this update with you. Do you have any concluding remarks? Anything else you wanted to add that you were not asked about?
Yeah, what I would like to add very shortly, perhaps in 2 weeks, we will be providing jointly with the Secretary of Foreign Affairs a member state briefing in New York. And we will be providing you with the latest, with this updated version of the humanitarian response plan. We need your support to make sure that the solidarity demonstrated by the international community is now translated into concrete funding to our humanitarian response plan. Thank you, Stefan, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Gustavo, to you and your team, and be well. Thank you. Paulina? Paulina, you're up.